Hello and welcome to Game Patrol, my brand new podcast, basically encompassing all of gaming, all of the latest and greatest, talking about stuff going on in the gaming world. And so I'm your host, Landon Plumley, and I am super excited to be bringing this to you guys. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm very new to this. This is the first time I've done anything of this scale before. I've tried doing podcasts in the past, but they've been sort of very mediocre quality. But this is the first time I'm really trying my best to give you guys a professional podcast in that style. So let me know if there is anything you would like changed, any tips or suggestions with the audio quality or the video quality if you're watching on YouTube. So please let me know all this stuff. Obviously I do not own a grand studio, so this is what the place looks like for now. Eventually I will be going back to college land because I am a sophomore in college, and so this will look completely different. But for the first 2 episodes, I'm gonna be here. This is what it is gonna look like. But hopefully as this podcast grows and expands, we'll get some cool stuff in there and everything will be super dope. But I am super excited to start out this podcast. I think it is going to be super duper cool, and I hope you guys are as well. Now I'm hoping to put this up on Spotify, so hopefully you guys are listening on Spotify right now too. That would be super awesome. But it's my first time ever uploading to Spotify. I've looked over all of the requirements and I think I've gotten everything right, but if it doesn't show up on Spotify this week, it's because I couldn't do it. But I am trying my best, and I'm also considering uploading it to other podcast sites. It's just Spotify is the service that I use to listen to podcasts, and so that's what I'm starting with. But if you guys have any suggestions on places I should upload this to as well, let me know. The biggest thing that I'm not is Apple Podcasts. I've considered it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. But if I have an audience there, I could do that as well. I just don't own any Apple products myself, so that's why I haven't. That's why I'm not going to at this current time. But I have nothing against it, and so if people want me to, I will. But we're just starting out on Spotify for now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I know they say it can take a couple days for it to get on, so the Spotify version might be a little bit later than the YouTube version, but it could also be just a few hours, so hopefully that is the case. But let's get into this week's podcast. So yes, this is going to be a weekly podcast published every Friday. I don't have an exact date or time because of the whole Spotify thing, or I do have a date, but like exact time, but it will be up sometime on Fridays. Every single Friday, it's going to be a weekly podcast. And so, yeah, jumping into our first topic, and I'm going to be following sort of a regular type of formats that we have some sort of I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but to have a structure. There we go. So first off, I'm going to talk about the games that are coming this week. Any big notable titles releasing this week? And the answer is there's nothing. There's nothing. Definitely in the gaming lull. I mean, people got plenty of new games for Christmas, most likely, unless you're an adult gamer like myself and a lot of other people that are probably listening to this podcast, where we probably bought all the games we wanted ourselves. And so, yeah, it's very much this is the time to get into your backlog and play some games, because the first notable titles that release aren't until January 17th, and that's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Excuse me if I mispronounced the name. I've seen Dragon Ball, but I am only most of the way through the first series. I haven't even seen any of Dragon Ball Z, which I really want to, especially because of Kakarot. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I really want to, because it is a dope show. It's just I have so many shows I want to watch. I'm obsessed with One Piece too, but I don't even know how many episodes in, maybe like 50. I don't know. Anime is so fantastic, but there's so much of it. So I think the only shows that I've caught up on are My Hero Academia. That might be it. Though I want to watch Attack on Titan. That's my next anime that I want to dedicate myself to, is Attack on Titan. I haven't seen any of it yet, but I've watched some Black Clover. Anyway, I'm already getting way off track, but yeah, those are the next games that really come out. I didn't even talk about the other one. It's shoot, I forget the name. It's Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE Encore. great title. From what I understand, it is a Switch enhanced port of a Wii U game. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I know there's a huge fan base for it. Well, maybe not huge, but a pretty big fan base for it. So I'm interested in checking it out. I have no idea what it is, but you know, if it gets good reviews, if people are excited about it, I might look into it. But yeah, so until then, it's a good time to get into your backlog, and my backlog is insanely long. So honestly, I'm relishing in this. Plus, you know, the holiday season, spending a lot of time with people, not really playing a whole lot of games, but yeah, nothing's really releasing right now, and not really complaining about that because life is busy enough as it is. Don't need to worry about shelling out money that we already spent on Christmas presents on more games. So yeah, not a whole lot going on with the gaming world in terms of releases and also gaming news. So we're going to move on into the gaming news of the past week. Now, I am recording this on Wednesdays just to give myself time to edit together everything. I think I'm going to start recording it on Thursdays because I don't think I'm going to edit the video all that much, and so it's not really going to take much time for me. And so I think I might start recording on Thursdays rather than Wednesdays so that I can get you guys more relevant news instead of having 2 days. Like, that's 2 days that big stuff could happen that isn't on this pod. Like, you have to wait a whole week for me to talk about. But as of this episode, it's going to be on a Wednesday, but I am kind of highly considering Thursday. We'll see how it goes with this one. But I also get super busy in college, and so it'll be nice to have that buffer day when I get back into college. So I might keep it at Wednesdays, but we'll see. But as far as gaming news for the past week, the biggest gaming news is that the PS5 and Xbox Series X specs potentially leaked. So this comes from a report from Digital Foundry, which is a pretty big deal. This isn't some obscure website. This is a site dedicated to like specs and the technical aspects of things. And so for them to like put some time and effort into reporting this, I mean, it sounds pretty legit. And so yeah, we have a lot of spec information about how this all works, and there was a video that was about to play and I freaked out because my volume was on, but I should probably turn that off. There we go. But the biggest thing is that if these specs are true, then the PS5 is massively less powerful than the Series X, which is a big deal. So getting into it, if you're not super savvy with the technical side and don't understand some of this stuff, I will summarize it a little bit. But the PS5 will reportedly feature a 9.2 teraflop GPU. Now, this goes back to the time of like the Xbox One X, always like they were boasting their 6 teraflops. That boom was a big deal, which it is. And so 9 teraflops is a really big deal because that's a pretty big leap over the Xbox One X, and definitely a big leap over the PS4. The original PS4 only had 1.84 teraflops. So that's a huge leap. So the PS5 will also reportedly feature GDDR6 memory, and so it's a pretty beefy thing. It also has 36 custom Navi compute units, which is pretty standard for the GPU, but they clock out at 2000 megahertz, whereas the PS4 Pro only clocks out at less than 1000 megahertz. So this is over twice the GPU power of the PS4 Pro. So it's a huge step up. I'm not downplaying anything about the PS5. It is going to be a hunk. But it's where we get into, well, before I get into the Series X, there is one big thing which I think is a terrible mistake for the PS5, and that is allegedly there are going to be 3 different modes that the GPU will switch between to offer backwards compatibility with PS4 and PS4 Pro titles. So there's going to be a Gen 2 for which is the PS5 GPU, a Gen 1 which is the PS4 Pro like GPU aspect that it's running, and then a Gen 0 for just regular PS4. And so when it switches between these modes, it actually dumbs down the GPU to match the system. And so the Gen 1 mode will feature the exact same metrics as the PS4 Pro, the 36 compute units with 911 megahertz core, 218 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. And so it's like the Xbox One X has been very good. Well, not even the One X, just the Xbox One in general has been very good of taking their backwards compatible games and boosting them up in quality. Now, of course, this has to deal with developers if they choose to, but the 360 and original Xbox games run best on the Xbox One or the Xbox One S or X. Whereas with the PS5, if you do your backwards compatibility, it's not going to run any better than on your PS4 Pro or your PS4 because they're literally dumbing down the GPU, which I think is ridiculous. And if this is true, I can only think of one reason they'd want to do that, and that's because of PlayStation 5 enhanced ports. And so perfect example of that is going to probably be Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sure that there's going to be a PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima that comes out. The Last of Us Part 2, they've already said stuff about it being on PS5. I'm 99% certain I saw Neil Druckmann say something about it on PS5, about how it would be like faster load times, all that on PS5 and everything like that. And so I don't even think that's a backwards compatibility thing. I think that's a PS5 port thing because of what this is saying. Now, I mean, faster load times, that's the only thing that would change because you have the SSD in here instead of the HDD. But everything else, it wouldn't run any better. It would just, like, loading faster is the only improvement that can possibly come out of backwards compatible titles on PS5. And that's ridiculous. I mean, you see all these backwards compatible games on the Xbox running at these super good speeds, and then you see the PS5, which is just gonna run on the same. It'll just load a little bit faster, which really sucks, and I think is a dumb move for PS5. However, well, honestly, no, it doesn't even make sense because you try to think about it as like a performance thing or a price over performance and that it would cut costs. But how are you cutting costs with this? You're not. I think this is a business move to convince people to buy the PS5 ports. So be like, hey, you can play your older games on here, but it'll run better if you shell out another $60 and get the PS5 version. Honestly, I can't, like, that sounds like the reason for them to do this. And if you know me, you know I'm not the biggest PlayStation fan. If PlayStation did not have some amazing exclusives, I would not own a PlayStation 4 just because I'm not a fan of Sony as a company. I think that they make very business-centered decisions. I don't think they keep consumers in mind very much. The only time that they really do things for consumers that only benefits the consumers is if everybody makes a big fuss about it. Like crossplay, that's the biggest example, and just how they refuse to use it. They started trashing the Xbox community when literally the PC gaming community is toxic as ever. I mean, you have hackers in the PC gaming, but they'll do crossplay with PC. It was a ridiculous argument, but just things like that. I just don't like Sony as a company, at least the PlayStation division, because they make very non-consumer biased decisions, and I think this is another one of those. But you know, we don't even know if this is true. This is just a very reliable source that is leaking these things. But if this is true, I'm not surprised, but I'm very disappointed. And so going into the Series X rumored specs, they're quite a bit bigger. So Digital Foundry describes the supposed Xbox GPU as frankly ginormous, in quotes, with signs pointing to a possible target of 12 teraflops. This is over the night. This is double the Xbox One X. I have a One X. I have a 4K TV. The thing looks gorgeous. And so 12 teraflops, my God, it's insane. And so, however, when putting this into perspective, both consoles are talking about 8K being a thing that can happen, especially with the PS5 if it's 9 teraflops. I mean, can it run it? Yes. Can it run it well? I think if either of these consoles, even with the 12 teraflop Series X, I mean, I'm not super knowledgeable about the technical side of things with these, about how many teraflops you need to support what, but I do know that simply doubling your graphical power does not mean double the resolution, because 8K is not double the pixels of 4K. It's an exponential thing. And so it takes more than double. And so seeing as 6 teraflops can run 4K at 30 FPS, sometimes 60 FPS, depending on like what the game is, I don't think we're going to see either of these consoles fully support 8K. If they do, it'll probably be akin to, I'd say the PS5 would be akin to the PS4 Pro with 4K, as in terms of if it does have 8K, it'll be like true 8K. It'll be checker boxing. It won't be true 8K, I guess is what I'm saying. It'll be more of like the checkerboarding. I'm sorry. But like what they have done with the PS4 Pro. And similarly, the Xbox One X to the Xbox Series X, where it'll run 8K at maybe 30 FPS and occasionally 60 FPS for like Forza games. But yeah, again, I'm not super knowledgeable about all this stuff, so I could be wrong. That's just based off of what I know. That looks to be, based off of these GPU specs, what we can expect out of 8K on these consoles. And so, but yeah, 9 teraflops versus 12 teraflops, that's a pretty big jump. So we're probably, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. So of course this is all unofficial, but talks about the price point. I mean, it sounds like the PS5 is definitely trying to make that balance between price and performance. So I wouldn't be surprised if the PS5 does hit that $400 launch point. I don't think it'll go higher than that, because I think that both PlayStation and Xbox are thinking a lot about their price. And so I've seen a lot of people saying that the Series X is going to be $600, which is perfectly plausible. I won't be surprised at all if the Series X is $600. However, the thing about that is that Xbox knows that their biggest thing, they are on a loss right now. They were obliterated by PlayStation in the last console generation. And so they need to do something big to win back fans. And so I think the biggest thing for them right now is to take a loss with, I mean, you see most people, I forget where I saw it, but I'm pretty sure I saw an article or someone say something that businesses take a loss on the consoles. It's through the software sales that they make their money back. And so personally, I personally think that Microsoft is going to price the Series X at $500, and it's going to be a big loss for them, but in the end it will make it better, because yeah, I think the PS5, there's a good chance it's going to be $400, so it'll still be more expensive, but it's so much more powerful. And so when people see that, I think people would be willing to shell out $100 extra versus $200 extra, because if I think there's a $200 discrepancy between these two, I think PlayStation could easily win. So if PS5 does launch at $400, I think the Series X has to do $500. It can't go any higher than $100 more in order to survive this, like in order to have a shot at being the best-selling console of this generation. I think that that's just how it has to work, because I mean, it was already $100 difference, right? I think it was $400 and $500 for the PS4 and the Xbox One, I think. But it was $100 difference last gen. If it's more than that this gen, you already have a bunch of PlayStation fanboys crashing on Xbox. So yeah, it'll be a big deal. But obviously it's deserved. I mean, before it wasn't even, because the PS5 could hit 1080 and the Xbox One was hitting 900p. I mean, they were worse specs for $100 more. So this could possibly be $100 difference for a much more powerful console, which looks very sexy, I might add. And so it'll be a big deal. And I personally think, like, value-wise, yeah, it makes sense to be $600. But I think business-wise, it would be really smart for them to go for $500. Take a loss. Take a pretty sizable loss with the console cost. And then I just feel like we wouldn't get a whole lot of sales, which I don't think people would be too upset about. It would be a while before you'd see sales on the Series X, but to get as powerful of a console as this for only $500, I think that'd be really, really good for Microsoft, and I kind of hope they do that. If they go for 600, it's whatever, but I think they need to do this to win over PlayStation people, because Xbox is really cool. I've been an Xbox fanboy for a long time. It's been my favorite console. The Switch is different. I mean, I consider PlayStation and Xbox to be very similar, and then Nintendo's just off in the corner doing their own thing, and that's great. I love that, just because it offers a lot different experience than the PlayStation and the Xbox. But yeah, I've always preferred Xbox over PlayStation. I think the UI on the One is much better than the PS4. It's very simple and easy to get around and use, and Microsoft in this last generation has learned so much about how to keep their consumers happy. And yeah, I like Xbox. So I'm super excited about the Series X, much more than the PS5, especially because there's been plenty of rumors that the Xbox is going to launch with a crap ton of games for the Series X, and then PS5 has nothing. I personally think we're going to see maybe a couple like indie or like AA games, maybe AA. And whatever that one that got announced, I can't even remember what it was called. The one game that got announced at the Game Awards, I literally can't remember what it was. I think it was Godfall, if I'm right. Oh yeah, it is Godfall, right? Correct? Yes, Godfall. Which, don't get me wrong, looks like a really cool game, but that looks like the only game that they're gonna have. Like, I feel like that's gonna be their big exclusive, like Killzone was for the PS4, but it's coming on PC too. So, I mean, you can make that argument for the One X. All of Microsoft's games come to the PC too, but yeah, there's been a lot of rumors that the PlayStation 5 is not going to have like this explosive launch. It's going to be a pretty safe launch, whereas the Xbox Series X is just going to explode, and I am super excited for that. For one, Halo Infinite. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. I'm so excited for the Series X. Whereas the PS5, I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna be on it, you know? Like we don't know. But the Xbox, we know plenty about what's coming to the Xbox. It's gonna be so cool. So yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but I'm excited for the Xbox. But anyway, I went on a pretty long tangent about that, but that's okay. So next on news, there has been a new PlayStation controller patent that shows back triggers. Now, a lot of people are assuming that this is for the PlayStation 5, but you know, it could not be. We don't know for sure. But it was a new DualShock. It was approved on December 26th, and it's very similar to the PlayStation 4. However, the leaked design, like the leaked concept design of the PS5 controller, show that it does look very similar to the PS4 controller, which no one's really complaining about, though I would have liked a little bit of differentiation. Just like with the Series X controller, I would have liked it to be a little different, but I understand why they didn't, and I'm not super mad about it, or this. But yeah, with this new patent, we're getting back triggers, and honestly, I think this is a pretty smart move by PlayStation. Again, I know I'm biased towards Xbox, but I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. PlayStation never really jumped into the Elite controller stuff like Xbox has. There's been a bunch of third-party controllers that have come out, and then they just recently introduced the back button, which I think is stupid. But yeah, it looks like that the PS5 controllers are going to have the back triggers built in, which I think is a smart move. I mean, the problem that Xbox has gotten itself into is that the Series X is going to launch with a controller that is technically not as good as controllers that have already come out. I mean, you have this top tier quality controller already on the market, but you also need like that controller that people can just pick up a few of them, which already, I mean, they're expensive enough already. When you have this $160 controller out there, what do you do to make this new controller? Because essentially it's not as good. And then, you know, you can use your Xbox Elite controller on the Series X, so that's kind of what they've done to remedy that. But I think PlayStation was smart to not do the Elite style controller. Well, don't get me wrong, I think the Elite controllers are great for the Xbox. I love the second one. I really want to get one. I just don't want to spend that much money on a controller, but I just like it because it finally has the rechargeable It's finally rechargeable. They got rid of the batteries finally, but with the PlayStation 5 controller, they have somewhere to go, whereas Xbox doesn't really. So, you know, it's pretty basic. It's basically the One X controller, or the Xbox One controller, but a little bit different. Whereas the PlayStation 5 actually has some growth that they can do. And adding something as simple as back triggers shouldn't make the cost all that much more. And then you'll probably see some like fine tuning in the style of an Elite controller, but maybe a little bit. But I mean, if they were to do this and like have an Elite style controller as their base controller for the PlayStation 5, and then make it the price of a regular instead of like the $150, that'd be a huge move for PlayStation, because they'd have a really, really good controller that just ships with the console and is a lot cheaper than the Elite controllers. So this is a potentially really smart move for PlayStation if this is what they're trying to do. But obviously we don't know. This is all just rumors and speculation and patents and all of that. It can obviously change. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty smart move for PlayStation to try to get an upper hand on the Xbox. So yeah, pretty cool. Also, one more thing of the gaming news. Again, it's pretty light, which is part of why I let myself go on that long tangent about the next gen. But Hong Kong protesters is fighting against mainland China users in GTA Online. So this is like a really cool thing for, like, as a gamer, to see like political stuff going in. Like, as much as I hate like toxicity in politics, to see people protesting in video games and seeing a video game world, you have people come together to fight against groups. I mean, one, you could make a case to say that this is a good sorry, I don't know why my eyes get watery when I do this sort of thing. It always happens, but my eyes get watery and my nose gets stuffed up. But I think it's a psychological thing. I promise I'm not gonna start crying on camera. I don't know. This literally always happens to me. I'm not emotional or anything like that, but yeah. So I was losing my train of thought, but gosh dang it, I lost my train of thought. You can make a case against like violence in video games, you know, like causing violent people, because you have these people in Hong Kong that want to do something, and they're taking it out on video games. Like, they're, instead of going out and actually like harming real people, they're killing people in video games. Which, I mean, you could easily make a case as why that's still bad. But I mean, one of my biggest reasons for arguing for like violent video games not being banned or anything like that is that it does create an outlet of getting out anger. A lot of times when I'm angry, I will play shooters to sort of like get out my frustration in an environment where I'm not actually hurting anybody. And so this is kind of an example of that. And it's really cool because they're organizing. You have Hong Kong protesters that are going together and attacking people from attacking like places and things like that. And then you have people in mainland China that are fighting back and trying to put down, and they're dressing up in like police uniforms, and the protesters are dressing up. It's really, really cool. And like, some people might be doing it as a joke, but there are some people that are just like legitimately, you know, getting into it, and it's just really cool. And I think it says a lot about how important the gaming industry is. There's a lot of people that are still saying that the gaming industry is just like, gaming is stupid and adults can't do it, and it's just for kids, and if you play video games as an adult, you just need to get a life. But especially in the last few years with the rise of esports and just how prominent games are getting, they are a big deal, and they're not just for kids. And this is part of the reason why I love video games so much, is that the amount of impact that they have on society as a whole, it's really cool. I mean, I don't want to say that this is necessarily a good thing, because, you know, you have all this controversy in Hong Kong. I took a class last semester on East Asian interactions, and we didn't talk a whole lot about the Hong Kong situation. I meant to ask my professor about it and try to get a discussion going. I did ask one time, but it was very brief, but I wanted to talk about it more, but I forgot about it. But yeah, there's some trouble going on there. Personally, I stand with Hong Kong. Now this podcast is banned in China, but, you know, yeah, it's I hate to say cool, because this is such a controversial issue, but it's important. that these things are going on in the video game world, you know? And so, yeah, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Also, GTA Online is superior to Red Dead Online, but to each his own. So, getting into the main discussion, and I've kind of talked about this a little bit. I'm going to drink some of my Mountain Dew so that I have the peachy clean voice for you guys. But the main thing I wanted to talk about for this episode is what I'm most excited about for 2020. It is a new year. Happy New Year, by the way. And so I want to talk about the biggest things I'm excited for in gaming for this year. And obviously the number one most exciting thing that's happening in 2020 is the new console generation. And so I've talked a lot about that with the gaming news, with the specs potentially leaked, but we're getting the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Well, the Xbox, we're going to get the Series X, and then most likely the Series S, and probably another one, like a successor to the all digital, whatever that's going to be called. Personally, I don't know. I don't think it's the Series S. I think the Series S is going to still have the disk drive, and it'll be like a mid-tier, like 1440p. I don't even know about that. I think it'll be 4K. I don't know about 1440p. I don't know. But Series... I don't know. Series A, maybe? I feel like we'll get another letter for the all digital. That makes sense. All digital, A. I didn't think about that. It's going to be the Series A. That's what I'm going with. And so, yeah. But, because that'll be the cheapest one, which is why it's the first letter, and it's all digital. I'm a genius. And so, Xbox marketing team, contact me. Let's get into business together. And so, anyway, we'll be getting what looks like 3 Xboxes this fall, which is dope. And then we'll get the PS5. I personally think we'll only have one PlayStation. I don't think we'll see them take the Xbox route of things or like make a pro version. I think we'll just get one PlayStation, seeing as there's been no reports of anything otherwise. Yeah, I think we'll just get the PlayStation 5, which is fine. I personally don't really care that much about... I think it's really cool what Xbox is doing, trying to cater to everybody. But for me personally, I'll just get the beefiest one. Like, I don't really care about the others, but I like the accessibility there. So like personally for me, it doesn't matter to me, but I do like it. If PlayStation were to do the same thing, I think that would be great, but I'm not super upset that they're not, because yeah, I just go for the beefcakes anyway. So, but yeah, I do love what Microsoft is doing, because they actually cater to accessibility, unlike other people. So yeah, it's going to be super exciting. But another thing that we don't really know about is the Switch Pro. I mean, I think it's coming. They've never explicitly said it, but we've seen plenty of leaks and rumors and things talking about a Switch Pro. The question will be whether they want to interfere with this new console generation, if they want to compete with the Series X or the Pro, or the PS5. And so, personally, like I said earlier, Nintendo's kind of off doing their own thing, and then you see PlayStation and Xbox fighting each other. So honestly, I don't think that they would be that deterred from launching a Switch Pro this fall, because people who care about Nintendo will get a Switch Pro, like who care about the Switch Pro will get it. They won't be like, well, I gotta choose one of the 3. Like, they'll most likely get a Switch Pro and an Xbox or a PlayStation. Maybe not at the same time, but within that season, I think. So I don't think it'll be a big deterrent for people. And so I don't think that Nintendo really cares that much. So if they're ready with it, they will probably launch it this fall. I don't think they would move it specifically to avoid it, because I don't think it would hurt their sales all that much, because they are so different. But I'm really hoping so. I mean, do I have the money for it? No. But I really want a Switch Pro. Like, I think it would be really cool. I think the biggest thing they could do, I don't expect a 4K Switch to happen, but a 1080p screen. Like, being able to make it run 1080 on portable would be a huge like step up. I think that would be really, really cool to have 1080p on the go. And then I don't really know what their step up would be, because I really don't think they would go 4K, because that would jack the price up really high. But I don't know, maybe 1440p. That could be really cool. But personally, I think if they were to make any big revisions, it would be on the portable side of things. Like, even longer battery life, 1080p screen, that sort of things. I don't think we would see very much. Probably they beef up the GPU even more so that you could run The Witcher 3 at 1080p 60 FPS. Like, I feel like that would be, I don't think we'd see any resolution bump on the TV side of things. I think it would just be portable. A 1080p screen portable would be super, super cool. But yeah, I just want a Switch Pro to make Witcher 3 on Switch better, because it is already awesome enough. So let's make it better. That's what I want a Switch Pro for. The Switcher 3. And so yeah, that's what I want. But I think it'll launch. I think we might get one this fall. I think it'd be really cool. But whether or not it'll happen, I don't know. But that's a potential new thing that I'm very excited for and think it'll be really cool. Second thing that I'm really excited for is E3 2020. Because the big thing with that, personally, I'm trying to go. That's my big saving thing that I'm doing right now, saving up for E3, trying to get the money for that, because tickets will likely come out next month to purchase, and that early bird discount is a hell of a deal. Last time I got myself screwed over, kind of, because the website crashed because there were so many people trying to get tickets, and so I had to shell out the regular amount. But even though I was there, but I actually complained to them. Like, I sent them an email, like, pretty upset about it because I bought tickets for myself and my girlfriend. So I think it was 150 for early bird and 250 regular. I'm pretty sure that was the price. So I had to shell out $500 when I was planning on shelling out $300. So I contacted them, and they were really nice. They gave me, like, they refunded me part of the money and gave me the early bird discount. So I was super happy about that. But I'm also going to prepare $500 this time in case that happens again. Hopefully it doesn't. I hope to God it doesn't. But yeah, so saving up some money for that. But I'm really excited to go. And it's going to be interesting whether or not PlayStation attends. Seeing as they haven't explicitly said that they're not. I mean, they could honestly just not be saying it because they think it's implied that they're not coming, and that's why they haven't specifically said they're not. But it would be really big for them, especially with how how E3's kind of switched their focus off of media and made it more for the gamers that come, which personally, I didn't really care about a lot of the events going on there. I mostly came to play the games. And so, they just need to stop. They said they're adding more tickets for people. And it was bad enough. I had to wait 4 hours to play Luigi's Mansion 3. Actually, I don't think it was quite as long. I think it might have been 3 hours for Luigi's Mansion 3. But I know I had to wait over 4 hours to play Link's Awakening. And let me tell you, it was a great game. I don't know if it was worth waiting 4 hours, because that was crazy. Most of the time, it was pretty okay. But Nintendo's games, you had to wait extremely long for. I think it was only like an hour for Pokemon, but I caught it at a good time. The easiest one was Doom Eternal, which was my favorite game at E3, and it's coming out this year. But anyway, sorry, I'm just a big Doom fan. But we got in. It was the last day of E3. We got in and we ran right to it because it's one of my most anticipated games, so I wanted to make sure I got a chance to play it. So we ran straight there, and they asked, like, we got in the line and we're prepared to wait for a while. But then anybody asked, does anybody want to play right now? Because people were just getting vouchers to come back later, and like immediately my hand shot up, so I got right in. That was dope. But yeah. One of the games I didn't get to play was Final Fantasy VII, which I'm kind of regretting now because it looks really dope. But I really, really wanted to make sure I got to play Doom, so I headed straight there instead of grabbing a voucher for Final Fantasy VII, which, in retrospect, I easily could have just gotten a voucher real quick and still gotten to play Doom, but I just really wanted to make sure I got to play Doom. And I'm glad I did. But I do kind of regret not playing Final Fantasy VII. But anyway, that was a long tangent. Yeah, this one's going to be a big one. It's probably going to be guaranteed that Microsoft will show off the Series X there. If I get to play the Series X, I'll lose my freaking marbles. Like, that'll be so cool. Play some Halo Infinite. They might have some multiplayer going there. Oh, God, that'd be so cool. This is going to be a really big E3. And so that's what I'm excited for, to try out all the new stuff, to go. I'm supposed to be going with my buddy. And so we're both trying to save up, but we're notoriously bad with money. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going for, well, I shouldn't say for sure, but I am really going to go. Like last year I went with my girlfriend. This year, I just don't have the money personally. Well, I guess I don't need to save up $500 then. I didn't think about that. I just need to save up $250. But I personally just don't have the money for the both of us to go, because the plane, if it was just the tickets it'd be fine, but the plane tickets are insanely expensive. And so I'm trying to go with my buddy because the both of us have really wanted to go to E3 for a long time. It's just that he couldn't last year, so I just went with my girlfriend. But for the three of us, I don't want to put that on my buddy, because, you know, then it'd be kind of like a third wheeling, because it is like a vacation where I'm planning on going there for 8 days. I did a week last time, but it left a little bit to be desired. I didn't get to travel as much as I could, but I want to go for 8 days this time, to have one more day to kind of explore LA, because it's such a big and awesome city, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to do, which I want to do this time. But yeah, I will go by myself, like, even if my buddy doesn't come up with the money, just because it's really important for me to be at this E3, because I want to get into games media internship. IGN, if you are listening or watching, I am working my butt off to try to work with you guys. That's not like a confidence thing. Like, I'm not saying I will work for you, but I really want to work with you guys. And so I'm getting through college, so expect to hear a lot more from me within the next couple of years, because you guys are my dream job, and I plan on being with you guys at some point, because you guys are awesome, and I love you guys a lot, and I listen to not all of your podcasts because I'm a busy boy, but Beyond Unlocked and NVC I listen to fairly regularly, and I love all of you guys very much. Please hire me. And so yeah, E3 is a big point. I want to try to do some networking, which I hate self-marketing, because I know people are really busy during that time and they just don't, and so I don't know how to go about doing that. But I would like to talk with some people and kind of get my name out there a little bit, because I do have some published work online with Gaming Cypher. Shout out to Gaming Cypher for giving me an internship and letting me publish reviews of video games, sending me codes, sending me free games to review, sometimes before they're released, which is super dope. I really love my internship a lot. But yeah, I'm getting published work out there, and so I'm just trying to get myself even more out there and try to make it big in the games media industry, because it's what I'm most passionate about, which is why I started this podcast. But yeah, E3 is a big thing for me this year, and just in general, because it is the launch of a new console generation. So yeah, got a lot of big stuff happening in that respect. But the last thing that's really big about 2020 is, of course, the games. And so there are some really big games coming out. I'm going to highlight the top ones that I'm most excited for. First off, the obvious one, Cyberpunk 2077. It is 4 months away, guys. Wait, is it? No, it is 3 months away, guys. Like 3.5. And that's super exciting. I've been a fan of CD Projekt Red from the beginning. Well, I shouldn't say from the beginning. I think I've played all of the games, that's why I said that, but I think I played The Witcher, and The Witcher 2 is already out. It was before The Witcher 3 came out, I know that. It was maybe 2013, maybe, when I started playing The Witcher. But I've played all of the games. I'm obsessed with The Witcher. I watched the Netflix show and I loved it. I thought it started off like pretty, like, this is pretty good, but nothing like spectacular. But as it went along and started like really building the world, I just think it was a perfect setup. And especially because it was based off of The Last Wish, which is essentially just separate stories that further build the world. As an adaptation of that, it was really, really good. And like incorporating Yennefer and Ciri more earlier on, so that they can, you know, they're better incorporated into the world. I thought that was a great choice. I just think as an adaptation, it was fantastic. And as a fan of The Witcher, I loved it, even though I easily like understand why a lot of people, like why a lot of the critics didn't. I loved it. And so I'm on a Witcher high right now. But super excited about Cyberpunk 2077. I really love the Deus Ex franchise. Mankind Divided was a really awesome game, and if you disagree with that, how dare you. But also Human Revolution. But it's giving me lots of Deus Ex vibes, and just CD Projekt Red does no wrong, so I'm super excited to play this game. And I was very disappointed when I could not at E3. So that sucks. I was also fully expecting it to come out this past fall, and so when they said it was coming in April, I was like, dang it. But, you know, I'm still very, very excited, and I think it's going to be a 10 out of 10 game because they do no wrong. I mean, all of their games, the bad part about CD Projekt Red is that they unintentionally make their other games obsolete. Like, going back to The Witcher after playing The Witcher 3 makes it just inherently poor quality game. Like, it's not a poor quality game. It's just, it's like playing the first Assassin's Creed and then playing Assassin's Creed 2. When you play the first one, you're like, this is fantastic. And then you play Assassin's Creed 2 and you're like, wow, the first game sucks now. And so it's like, it's that way for The Witcher 1 and 2. And I feel like Cyberpunk is going to be that way for The Witcher 3. Like, you play Cyberpunk and then you go back to The Witcher 3 and you're just like, this is not as good. This is just me settling at this point, which is insane if they pull that off again, because they have so far. The Witcher is an insanely good game. Then you play The Witcher 2 and you're just like, wow, this is so amazing. And then you play The Witcher 3 and you're just like, wow, oh my god. And so if Cyberpunk does that again, CD Projekt Red, #1 developer in the universe. Also, Respawn, because they have not made a bad game either. Because Star Wars. But, yeah. So, I'm excited for Cyberpunk, as is everybody in the freaking universe. But, second thing I'm excited for is Resident Evil 3 Remake. This was something, God, I freaked out about. When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my god. I freaked out. I immediately pre-ordered. Well, I pre-ordered as fast as I could. It took like 2 days to get on the Xbox store, but I pre-ordered that. I pre-ordered the GameStop Collector's Edition. I've never been one for Collector's Editions, but I'm really getting into them now. It's something that I've developed. I pre-ordered the Doom Eternal Collector's Edition. I pre-ordered it for Xbox, but I want to get Doom Eternal on Stadia because it'll probably run better. So I think I might just own 2 versions of the game. It's just that Stadia doesn't really do collector's editions right now because they're fledgling, and without getting too far into it, I'm a huge Google Stadia fan, but their launch has been an absolute disaster. I relate Google Stadia to Steam. Steam took a solid like 3 years to get their feet off the ground, so I feel like that'll be similar to Stadia, and I hate that people are like saying that because it launched terrible and it's not picking up traction, it's just doomed, because that's exactly what happened to Steam, but people are just, they have the memories of dead squirrels. So yeah, I personally hope that it's like Steam. And I also compare it most to Steam because that's what it freaking is. People say that it needs to have a subscription service to survive. It doesn't. It's literally Steam. But you can pay $10 a month for free. It's Steam, but with Xbox Live. So yes, do you have to pay for multiplayer on Steam? No. I mean, you don't have to pay for multiplayer on Stadia, but like, does Steam have a subscription service? No. But it's still surviving. And so yeah, you might have to pay a little bit to have the 4K, but they do kind of need to survive a little bit here. They need to keep those servers up. So personally, I don't think it needs a subscription service at all. And it's also going to have things like Uplay Plus, where you can get free games like that. And they're doing 2 free games a month. Like, literally, I have half of the Stadia library right now just because I bought in a few games and then all of the free games that they've given us so far. They just came out with Rise of the Tomb Raider and Thumper as free. And so I have 2 out of the 3 Tomb Raider games. I mean, I already have them, so I'm torn between whether I should buy Shadow of the Tomb Raider, although I know it's one of the best looking Stadia games, so I'm really considering it. I just haven't because money, but it's fantastic. Stadia is fantastic. It just needs more time. I think they should have held off a little longer to make some more features, but as it stands now, it works wonderfully for me. It's my internet service provider that's a little slacking right now. If that's the only problems I've run into, I've run into very little problems on Stadia's end, so suck it, haters. Anyway, yeah, Resident Evil 3 I'm super excited for. I pre-ordered the collector's edition. I also pre-ordered it because the collector's edition isn't going to arrive by midnight. Like, I'm not going to have it right at release, so I also pre-ordered a digital version for the Xbox as well as the collector's editions. So I'm going to have 2 copies of the game, which means probably on this channel, probably on my YouTube channel. I'll probably do a giveaway of it. Like I'll give away a code, or maybe on the podcast or whatever, because I'll have a free code for the game. Or I actually no, it comes with the Steelbook. Shoot. I might just send you the disc, because I feel bad for having 2 copies and just not being able to like just having it instead of giving it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet, but I have an extra copy. I might give it away, who knows. But I do want that Steelbook, so you won't get the Steelbook. Wait, does it? No, it doesn't. It doesn't come with the Steelbook, because that was one of the things people were complaining about. It just comes with the regular. So yeah, I might just ship it out then, because there's just having the, though I do like physical copies. That's just selfish of me. Whatever. Might give it away. So anyway, super excited for that. Resident Evil 2 was one of the best games of 2019. I love that game to pieces, and so being able to play 3, because I've never played 3. The only I haven't played 6 either, for reasons that probably aren't that hard to figure out, but I do plan on it eventually. But 3 and Code Veronica are the only Resident Evil games I haven't played. Even though I could play Code Veronica, it's on Xbox through backwards compatibility. Suck it, PlayStation. And so I could play that. But Resident Evil 3 is the only other game that needs to be like remade for like modern day consoles. That like absolutely needs to be. So I'm super excited to like be able to have like a complete Resident Evil collection. That'll be dope. Also, Resident Evil 8 gets announced at E3. I'm calling it right now. Please, Capcom, please, you are on a roll. Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5 is one of the most criminally underrated games of this past year, and you should play all of the Devil May Cry games. Suffer through 2, just like I did, because that is a heap of garbage. I usually don't like when people just trash video games, but Devil May Cry 2 deserves it. That is a heap of garbage. But play through it for the lore. Honestly, there really isn't much lore. You could probably skip it if you wanted to, but if you're someone like me, play it. But play through all the games. You don't have to for 5. I just recommend you do, so that you can have some more emotional resonance with it. But freaking play Devil May Cry 5. All of the games are great except for 2, but Devil May Cry 5 is one of the best hack and slash games ever made. It's a criminally underrated game. Play it. But yeah, Capcom's killing it. Like, they were a dying company, to be honest. They are what EA is now. Although EA is doing a little better too. Maybe Ubisoft? As much as I hate to say that, because I love Ubisoft, I've never been a Ubisoft hater. I just love open world RPGs, so Ubisoft is my bread and butter. But yeah, Capcom kind of hit their dry spell like 5 years before everybody else did. Like, everybody's kind of hitting that now, or like within the past year or two. Capcom's already been through that, so they're coming back and hitting out of the ballpark. So I'm really excited for Resident Evil 3. I have a lot of confidence in it. Yeah, I'm super excited. Then we got Doom Eternal. How am I doing on time right now? We're running pretty low on time. But Doom Eternal, already talked about it. It was my favorite game of E3. It's just so good. I mean, they've taken everything that was great about Doom and then just added on more. And it's not like it's just Doom 1.5. Like, they've added a lot of cool stuff that really impacts the gameplay. Like, the grappling hook is dope. The traversal, like being able to climb around things now, adds a lot of environmental puzzles to it and everything like that. It was super dope. Yeah, I'm trying to think about new weapons. I feel like there were new weapons. I don't remember if there were a whole lot of new weapons. I think that might be something we learned about later on. I was so disappointed when it got delayed from November, but now it's going to be in March, which is fine, I guess. 2 months away. 2 months, guys. 2 months. But I'm super excited about it. Like I said, I pre-ordered the collector's edition for the Xbox. Might have to, because I haven't pre-ordered it digitally. I might have to do that so I get it at midnight. We'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't say I'm quite as excited about it as Resident Evil 3, because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, but I'm also a huge Doom fan, so I think I should. I think I should. But I'm also super excited for that freaking Doom helmet, man. Oh god, it's gonna be so cool. I am going to annoy the crap out of my girlfriend with it. Like, we're gonna, like, I say this in the best possible way, so don't read into it too much, but say we're getting intimate, not in the way you're thinking. And then I just whop out that helmet and piss her off. Oh, that's gonna be so much fun. Just ruin every moment with that helmet. It's gonna be so much fun. God, just go walking along campus with that helmet on, like my college campus. God, so cool. I might honestly just have to see if I can find some sort of like costume to go with it, like a Doomslayer costume. It's gonna be so cool. Get like a model. I feel like you can get like a toy gun out somewhere of like the BFG or something. God, that'd be so cool. I took a picture with the BFG at E3. I have a picture of my phone. Haley and I, my girlfriend and I, we took pictures at the Doom Eternal booth. I didn't take a whole lot of pictures of like those things, like of us, because I didn't really care that much. I'm not a huge photo person. I like them, but I also like to live in the moment. So I don't have a whole lot of pictures, but that's one of them I do have. I also have a picture with the voice actor for Mario, Luigi, and all of them, which was dope. I met him. He was a super chill dude, and I love him a lot. So I also have an autographed photo of him. That was dope. But another video game I'm super excited about is Marvel's Avengers. I know a lot of people have said a lot of crap about it, but my God, it looks amazing. So you guys shut up. One, it's from the developers of the 2013 Tomb Raider, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's just an amazing game. It's like flawless. It really is. It's a freaking masterpiece. And so seeing those guys working on Avengers just makes me really happy, because they're a very underrated development team. And so yeah, I'm also a huge superhero fan. I love the MCU. I also love DC. I don't love a lot of the DC movies, but Joker is my favorite movie of all time now. I'm obsessed with that movie. And my second all-time favorite movie is Logan. So I love superhero movies, and so being able to like be put in that world. There's a severe lack of really good superhero games. The Batman Arkham series is one of the best video game series of all time. Arkham City is one of my favorite games of all time. So having another big one makes me really happy. I hope it turns out really well, and I have a lot of faith in them that they will do well, because Tomb Raider is fantastic. So I'm very excited about that. Still haven't pre-ordered it. I don't put a lot of like emphasis on pre-orders. So that's why I don't have a lot of these pre-ordered. I still haven't pre-ordered Cyberpunk either, but just because it's not that big a deal to pre-order it so early, because of digitals don't sell out, so it's just not that important. But also, something big is just whatever new games get announced for next gen. Like E3 is going to be a big year for that, being like announcing new stuff. Xbox has already announced a lot of their stuff. I don't know how many big things, although this year we're going to find out most likely about their quadruple A game going on at their new Santa Monica studio. So that's very likely we're going to find out what that's all about, which will be really cool. We could get Fable 4 or a Fable reboot by Playground Games. That's going to be super, super dope. PlayStation might announce a new God of War. Maybe. Or a new Spider-Man. Insomniac still hasn't done anything yet, so new Spider-Man game or a Ratchet & Clank game. Personally, I think we're gonna, because people love Spider-Man so much, I think we'll get a Spider-Man 2 and then another Ratchet & Clank. I think they've got, I would say maybe 75% of their team working on Spider-Man, and then maybe a little skeleton crew kind of developing another Ratchet and Clank. Maybe like, not like they'll eventually swap them over, but I think the most of theirs. But then they have a few people that are kind of planning out a new Ratchet and Clank game, but I feel like the majority is working on another Spider-Man, because it was a really dope game, and don't get me wrong, I loved it. I don't think it was like Arkham City quality. I think I'm one of the people that liked it a little bit less than the general, but I still really loved it. It's still a great game. I just think, as far as open world games go, it could have been a little, like, the open world could have been a little bit better. I think that's something that Spider-Man games have struggled with for a long time, but I think it's definitely something they can improve on. I think I'm just spoiled by Red Dead Redemption 2 and Breath of the Wild, and so just in comparison with those two, that's why I wasn't like, but it was still a fantastic game. Like, as far as Spider-Man games go, it was superb. But yeah, that would be really cool. Metroid Prime 4. I was convinced we were gonna get Metroid Prime 4 news at the Game Awards, but we didn't. Either Metroid Prime 4 or Bayonetta. I mean, I think Bayonetta's more likely, because as far as we know, development hasn't reset on that, but development has restarted on Metroid, so I wouldn't be super surprised if we didn't get a whole lot of info, but it's been a while. I mean, come on, please. At least, if I could ask for one thing to come out this year, like to get announced for this year. Obviously, I want all these things, but I want a lot of things. But port the freaking Metroid Prime trilogy onto the Switch, because I've never even played it. I'm super excited for Metroid Prime 4, and I've never even played a Metroid game. So I want to play these games. Put them on the Switch. I don't want to have to go out and buy a Wii U so I can get Metroid. And yes, I know they were on the Wii, but I'm talking about backwards compatibility, and it's probably easier to get a Wii U, and it'll run better than on a Wii. But yeah, that's what I want. Those are the big games that I hope get announced, that I think are likely to get announced. I don't know about any IPs. Personally, I think PlayStation's struggling right now. I think Bend is still kind of running off of Days Gone. I don't think we expect anything new from them this year. But yeah, that's about what I'm expecting. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of new things. We'll get Halo Infinite, which is going to be dope as hell. If it's open world, oh my god. That's the big thing I'm hoping for with Halo Infinite, because they said it was going to be this it was going to be a new direction for the franchise. So I'm really, really, really hoping they go open world with this one. I think from what they've shown us, it kind of looks like they might, but even like a God of War aspect to it, like not even necessarily a full open world, but like what God of War of Tomb Raider have done, where it's like a kind of linear world, but it allows for some exploration. And like Halo games have kind of done that, but maybe just a little bit more open. Honestly, full open world would probably service them better as like a big change. But that'd be so cool. It'd be so cool. Give us an open world Halo game. Just like lean into pull an Assassin's Creed on the Halo franchise. Make it an open world RPG. You can customize Master Chief, level him. God, that'd be so cool. That would be so cool if they turned it into a shooter RPG. God, that would be dope. That'd be so cool. I mean, you might have some people hate on it for that because that's a huge departure, and so the hardcore fans might get upset. But my god, make an Assassin's Creed Odyssey for Halo. That would be so dope. They would, god, that'd be game of the year. It'd be so cool. Oh, also new Assassin's Creed game coming this year. I forgot about that, and I freaking love Assassin's Creed. I've played all of them except for Rogue. I didn't play Rogue. I need to play Rogue. But yeah, Vikings. Pretty much confirmed, because Ubisoft can't keep a secret to save their lives. But I'm super excited for that. I'm kind of hoping for like a system similar to the Middle Earth games, where you have to like build a tribe of Vikings. That would be super dope. That's kind of like what I was thinking in terms of like where do they go next for innovating, because I think that's a big thing for them, as that's what's made the franchise like as big as it is now with like Origins and Odyssey, because they both innovated in new ways. And so I'm hoping that's the next innovation. I mean, I'll gladly take anything else, but that's just what I personally think would be the next step, because I don't know how they can add it. And so I think changing up the gameplay in that way is like the next logical step, would be to add something like that. Something like they kind of have a nemesis system going, like they introduced that in Odyssey, but like to build your armies a little bit more. Maybe not to the extent, I wouldn't care that much about having like Shadow War's army system, but like to personally get like your crew kind of like Watch Dogs Legion, but not make them playable. Just, you know, like build a crew and then have personal missions tailored for each crew member, and like really get into like getting to know all the characters in that game, and just having a crap load of character story like Mass Effect 2, just on a much bigger scale. That'd be really, really cool. And so I hope that's where they go. But as long as it's a really good game, I don't care. But that would be cool to see. Just I'm really lean into character development and building a really awesome Viking clan. That'd be dope. Oh, that'd be so cool. I love Assassin's Creed so much. I've been playing Odyssey on Stadia. I have it on Xbox too, but yeah, Freaking dope. Okay, so we're running pretty low on time. We're running a little bit over, and so very quickly I'm going to go over the games that I've been playing this past week. Again, it's a lot of backlog, but the big thing I've been playing is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen on the Xbox One, because it is the number 100 best game of the 2010s. As I have made a list, I started a new channel, a new YouTube channel called Pandamaster Rewind. Pandamaster is my gaming handle, and it's also the name of the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know that. If you're watching on Spotify, I have a YouTube channel called Pandamaster. But I just launched a channel called Pandamaster Rewind today, 2 days ago, for you guys if you're watching the day this comes out, unless you're on Spotify and it takes a couple days. But anyway, it launched on January 1st, and so I am playing the top 100 games of the decade. I spent a month pulling together all of the lists of like best games of the decade and like tallying up all the scores and like coming up with like the average spot for all of them and coming out with the top 100 games of the decade based off of those lists. It took so many hours. I worked really hard on it. And so if you guys aren't already, go on, head over there, check it out, subscribe if you think that's your fancy. I'm taking it kind of slow right now, so it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long journey to play 100 games, but as I get more support and get access to more resources, I will upload faster. Right now I'm uploading on a weekly basis, and so I'm going to be playing Dragon's Dogma for a while, but as I get more support on the channel, I'll start playing multiple games at once, so we'll get into 99 and 90, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, Dragon's Dogma is number 100, so I'm playing that on the channel right now, so I've been getting into it. I've never played it before, but it's really cool. I really like the gameplay aspect of it. It is kind of like a mix of The Witcher 3 and Dark Souls, so it's pretty cool. I really like it a lot. But yeah, I've only played like an hour. Haven't recorded the second episode yet. I've only recorded the first, so but I like it so far. It's really cool. Secondly, I just bought Rage 2 on Google Stadia. I had a pretty crappy New Year's Eve, and so I wanted to make myself feel better, and so I reverted back to my old coping strategy of buying things. I shouldn't have, but that's just what I do. And so I've been interested in Rage 2 for a while, as sort of like a mix of Doom and Mad Max, but I never picked it up because it got pretty meaty, like pretty mixed reviews. But I played it a little bit. I couldn't do it well because since it was New Year's Eve, everybody was like on the internet doing stuff. And so it was not Google Stadia's fault, but my internet was just crappy. It kept going out, and it was making me so mad. I live in the boonies. When I go back to college, it won't be an issue, but it's the first time I've had a problem with Stadia here. Any other time, usually I'm fine. Stadia actually works better here for me than in college, which is surprising because I go to college in Indianapolis. So, and smack dab in the middle too, not even like on the outskirts or anything. Like I'm in downtown Indianapolis, where the Wi-Fi is super good, but I have better Stadia quality here. I don't know if it has to do with bandwidth or what, but yeah, it runs like a dream here. But most of the time it works fine there too. I'm not saying it because yeah, like I said, Google Stadia runs perfectly. It just it comes down to your internet being functional for a solid period of time. But yeah, I couldn't play a whole lot of Rage 2 because the internet was just being really bad that night. But I played a little bit of that. I started replaying The Witcher because I finished the Netflix show and I really wanted to play some. I thought it was really cool that The Witcher 3 now has more concurrent users than when it launched because of The Witcher on Netflix, which is super dope. I mean, more people getting into The Witcher is fantastic because it's a fantastic franchise. The Witcher 3 is a fantastic game. Yes. And the only other game I've played this week is I played some Superhot VR. I got back into that a little bit because my sister's never played VR, and she well, actually she has. She played a little bit of the HTC Vive, but she's never got into the PlayStation VR. And I've had one for a little over a year. I got it last year, Black Friday. And Superhot was one of the first games that actually, no, it wasn't. Superhot, I think I got Superhot this summer. Yeah, because I bought the Move controllers this summer. Originally, I didn't have those. I just bought the standard bundle with Astrobot, which is a fantastic game. But I was playing some Superhot with her, and Superhot's always a great game. Doesn't play super duper well on the PlayStation VR because just with the motion tracking and everything, it can get all shoddy. I've also played Superhot VR on the HTC Vive, and it's much better because of having the multiple cameras. But it plays well enough that it's not like it's just a crappy game on PSVR, but yeah, the tracking can get a little iffy, but always a good time. And it's fun to have a reason to put on the VR headset because there just aren't a lot of really immersive games for VR yet, but there are some really, really good ones where I feel like my purchase was justified. It's just I'm always on the lookout for new VR games because it's dope. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I don't live in this big studio, so I tried to adjust the video quality to look the best it can, but I know my camera is not the best. But yeah, give me any tips, any suggestions on what I should do different for the video if you guys are watching on YouTube. If you guys are listening on audio, if there's any suggestions you have for me, please let me know. But yeah, hopefully this gets on Spotify. Hopefully it gets on Friday and I don't have to wait a while. But once I get in the system and everything, it hopefully shouldn't. It should upload pretty quickly after that. I just don't know if it's like a first time. That's why it could potentially take longer or what. But I think it should automatically do it because this is my first time, so I don't really understand it. But I got into like the RSS feed, and so I've got that all set up and everything. So theoretically, it sounds like I should be able to do it pretty easily. But yeah, with that, I think that's it. Next week I'll be back. Not sure what to talk about. I'm not sure what we'll talk about yet. This was a fairly standard one because there's not a whole lot of gaming news going on, although the next gen's coming out. So that's why I told the big games or what I'm excited for most on 2020. But the big discussions will probably, unless there's nothing going on, will probably be pretty relevant to that week's discussion, but a lot of opinionated type of stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, let me know if there's anything, any sort of criticism, constructive criticism, bad or good, that you have. Comment down below. But yeah, any questions? So yeah, comment on my YouTube channel. I might get more things. Again, suggest if there's more things I should add. Maybe get like a dedicated Twitter to this podcast. If you guys want to get more interaction with you guys. Again, this is a growth time for this podcast. So but yeah, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify, head over to the YouTube video and comment down below, what are you guys most excited about for 2020? And so I could talk about some comments if you guys have any, because I don't know how big this is, how much this is gonna blow up or what. But yeah, let me know. And next week I could talk about some of the top comments if there are any. Like I said, I don't know how big this is going to be at the start, but I will eventually have co-hosts with me. It's just going to be me. We're starting off slow for now, but then I will add some people. I'm still debating because I would like them to be in person, but because I'm in college and that, it can get kind of difficult, so we might have to do something different. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. And that is going to be it. Thank you for listening to Game Patrol, and I will see you all next week.